We're going live, and we're live. Hello there, folks. Yes, I think yes, it looks like we're live. Hello there, I'm Doc. So I'm just popping on a wee moment or so just to check that everything's okay. I've got a bit of green from my sound machine down below, and the picture looks just about fine. So if anybody's out there, say hello while we're waiting, and I'll just wait for 10 o'clock before we get fully going with tonight's book club. There's Sean Wynn saying good evening, Doc. Hi, Sean. How you doing? Excuse me, and coffee as always. Hope you're keeping well. I'm going to get a quick. I thought I'd be smart about this, and actually, I always start coughing just before pretty much when I start doing this. I thought I'd get a swig of cough medicine before. That wasn't good. It's 10 o'clock. I'll do that again. I'll say hello, folks. Hi, I'm Doc Sloan. Thanks very much for joining me here at the Doghouse on my science fiction station. This is our Children of Dune book club, chapter 17. We're starting to make good progress through the book. Well, into the up to about we'll be heading at the end of this page 122, I suppose, in this edition. Starting to make a bit of a dent in the story. Things are starting to progress. There we go. So, just a wee bit of, I suppose, bit of housekeeping. There was, oh God, I'm trying to remember the name of it now. Bear with me a wee second. I'll put a wee link to it up on the community page there. Let's see if we can remember the thing's name. Just a little short Star Trek film that came out from 765874 Unif. It was quite interesting, I thought. Anybody hasn't seen it, it's about like an 8 or 9 minute long short film, sort of reuniting Captain Kirk with Spock in the afterlife, I suppose. Funny. It's an interesting little film. I think it's meant to carry on from if you like, and I think it kind of gives Captain Kirk and Spock their kind of end song. I was saying to my wife when I watched it, I thought it was quite good. It reminded me of a one-man stage play that I watched once that I actually took my parents to, and it was a Sherlock Holmes thing. And for the life of me, I can't remember the actor. It was a really good play. Saw it locally, and it was kind of Sherlock Holmes returning to Baker Street after Watson's funeral, and kind of the play is basically him reminiscing about for a couple of hours about their lives together. And in the end of that play, sort of decides to go join Watson, if you like, with him at the end. It just reminded me of that. So it was an interesting little thing, and interesting to watch William Shatner, who I think 93 now, doing a wee bit of if there's any Star Trek original series sort of Next Generation fans out there, they might want to check it out, you know. There's Cynthia saying hi, Doc. Hi, Cynthia, how you doing? Good to see you. And there's Julian saying hello, Doc. Hi, Julian, how you doing? Thanks very much for joining us, folks, as always. I'm getting to that point, but I'm having a pretty busy week. We've had a few kind of house disasters, just random stuff. But hopefully getting to that point with just a set of free time. So I'm hoping to get all that. I've been wanting to get caught up. I'm looking forward to. There's Chaya Rivka saying shalom for joining us. And Julian Thompson saying rewatching The Next Generation is delightful. Yeah, it's one of those shows we've got on in the background at the minute. Julian, wife has just made her way through. Goodness, what is it? All 11 years of which I've been kind of catching here and there as she's been watching it. I think we're back. We've hit Boston Legal again in terms of a wee bit of TV, you know. But what other shows I'm trying to watch Monkey at the minute as well. But yeah, it's some good telly about. And I've watched the second episode of Dune Prophecy as well. And my understanding is I think there's not going to be too many episodes of this series, but I don't think it's particularly good, to be honest with you. It's very pretty looking and shiny, shiny, but it certainly doesn't have the feel of Frank Herbert about it at all. It very much feels like a brown. But it's, you know, there's some good actors and stuff in it and stuff. Don't know if anybody else is watching it at the minute. I'm just watching it. So just one episode at a time, But there we go. But yeah, I like watching the Next Generation. What was it I watched the other day, Julian? Just we watched yesterday, and I went, "Oh, here, look who's in that!" And it was Robin Hood, Men in Tights, Mel Brooks film. And I had even must have come out in the 90s or something. But I was just, oh my goodness, there's Patrick Stewart in that, and who else was in it? Dave Chappelle's in it. I was like, wow, he's very young. That was interesting, but just to see Patrick Stewart doing his Shakespearean bit there, with a Mel Brooks film. I've seen it before, but I mustn't have noticed him being in it. But there we go. Chai saying rough reception on my end, could be signal jamming. Anyone else having glitches? I don't. That's an interesting thing, Chai. I don't know. As the recording, there is some issues with the recording here. I suppose maybe that we've been having a wee bit of bother with kind of sound glitches, and I've actually replaced equipment and stuff, but I don't know. It seems I'm looking into it at my end. I suppose I'm not too sure about the current ISP that I'm using and stuff, but I hope it's okay for folks. It's very cold here. No, we're straight, just merry. Yes, dude. Oh, it was a good laugh. I enjoyed it. My wife and I were just talking about it. It's a very funny film. It's got lots of innuendo and stuff in it, but you can watch. It's very much a family comedy. I thought that was the thing we were pointing out about it. But yeah, it's a good giggle. It's a bit of a silly one, but I enjoyed it. Simply saying yes, a few glitches. Hopefully, it will smooth out. Well, here's hoping, folks. If we do lose the picture or anything like that, I'll just try and get back on again, I suppose. But interestingly enough, I don't know. I was watching a couple of things on YouTube the other day, and I caught similar things that are happening to my channel and other people's. Which was maybe thinking maybe it's not me that's the problem. I don't know, but I'm still investigating and trying to refine things, guys. The best that we can do at the minute is just to kind of run with the fact that we're very much a guerrilla operation here, and strictly a one-man show. And unfortunately, you'll just have to. The best way we can describe it is warts and all. Our production is zero. Well, let's see. Hopefully, it's sort of if it's particularly bad, maybe could let me know. Or is anybody else getting an okay signal? Possibly, there's a couple of you are getting it not so good by the looks of it. Goodness gracious, signal jamming. That's an interesting thing to hear. Hope you're keeping well, by the way, and safe. Yeah. Let's see. Right. Well, I'll tell you what, folks. Rather cheekily, I just got this finished about half an hour ago, but it was an easy sort of finish, I suppose. But that was just for me having a bit of bother with sleep actually this week. But the Tuesday thing is definitely a much easier thing to work towards, So we'll take a wee quick look, just get ourselves started with our epigraph here. I might do a wee bit of scribbling as I go to this one. I hope that doesn't little things that happen. So here we go. I will not argue with the Fremen claims that they are divinely inspired to transmit a religious revelation. It is their concurrent claim to ideological revelation which inspires me to shower them with derision. Of course, they make the dual claim in the hope that it will strengthen their mandarinate and help them to endure in a universe which finds them increasingly oppressive. It is in the name of all those opposed people that I warn the Fremen. Short-term expediency always fails in the long term. And this is the preacher at Arrakis. So this is the and it's another warning, really, isn't it, from the preacher? We had a whole bunch of them in the previous chapter, a warning towards the priesthood and individual warnings for Alia, Stilgar, Jessica, and Irulan, I suppose. So that was a tricky one to say, wasn't it? Mandarin it. That's not too bad that time. I got it there. A Mandarin it, by the way, is a governing group of mandarins, if you like. A mandarin is I've just got the definition here, is a bureaucratic scholar, if you like, in China, Korea, and Vietnam. The word comes from the Portuguese Mandarin down to Mandarin, from mandador, which is one who commands, from the Latin mandar. From the Latin mandare, which is to command. There we go. So their Mandarin, it's just a particular choice of word, isn't it? For I suppose their power base, if you like. They're the people in charge of the. What would that be? Maybe a council of naibs or something like that. So we've got a couple of things here. This is the preacher. I'm not going to argue. He says with the fact that they're divinely inspired to transmit a religious revelation. That's fine. It's the claim that they have ideological revelation which inspires me to shower them with derision. What we're told is that they make the dual claim, both religious and ideological revelations, in the hope that it strengthens their, let's just call it political position, if you like, and help them to endure in a universe which finds them increasingly oppressive. So it is in the name of all those opposed people that I warn the Fremen. Short-term expediency always fails in the long term. So in other words, it's in the name of all of those people who have been oppressed by you and your jihad. That be careful, basically. People sort of don't really would stand for that sort of thing for too long. So the idea is that they're running hand in hand with religious revelation, ideological revelation, in the hope to, and I think this is what we were talking about, part of the preacher's warning to Stilgar as well, previous chapter. The preacher's second message in the previous chapter was this. My second message, the preacher said, is for Stilgar the Fremen Naib, who believes he can translate the power of the tribes into the power of the Imperium. My warning to you, Stilgar, the most dangerous of all creations is a rigid code of ethics. It will turn upon you and drive you into exile. So taking that on, I suppose, that warning to Stilgar as a Fremen Naib, we can look at this to the Fremen in general, if you like. Another warning. Short-term expediency always fails in the long term. There's something similar, and that's an absolute, by the way, and I don't necessarily agree with it, but the word always there makes it an absolute. It kind of reminds me on Gandalf in The Lord of the Rings, shortcuts make long delays, that kind of thing. But what you think might be useful to get you through this in the short term isn't going to work in the long term. The religious revelation is one thing, but the ideological revelation, that's another. And this is what draws derision, the preacher's contempt, basically, I think, here. The idea that this is what will strengthen them and help them endure in a universe that finds them increasingly oppressive. And those are people who have been oppressed by the Fremen and the jihad of Muad'Dib, if you like. That's what I get from it. And so again, religious revelation, okay. Ideological, no, not so much. And it sort of ties in with the idea, as I said, the previous warning, that the Fremen are kind of looking to possibly find a place within the Imperium similar to that of a great house, I think, is the idea. And that this is part of the warning from the preacher to Stilgar in particular. And so we're going to get a wee run with this kind of some of Stilgar's thinking in this chapter and leads into the next chapter. There we go. And so it's an interesting little one, this. It's a little meeting between Stilgar and, sorry, I'll just get the book there. There we go. Between Leto II and Stilgar. That's quite a quick little thing, I suppose. There's a reasonable amount of dialogue in it. And again, we get within the chapter, just before we get kicking into it, we get these two men's observations, well, I suppose boy and man's observations of the planet, of the landscape, from the place of the Attendant. And the location here, why they're here, is that Leto is determined to make sure that Stilgar is going to act a certain way in the event of either one of two things happening: either he die, either Leto's death or Leto's disappearance. And it's to ensure that, I think that I get the sense almost with this particular epigraph, um, that Leto needs Stilgar to act, how would we put it, in a Fremen way rather than an Imperial way, if you like. And ultimately, it's going to be grab Ganem and get out of there, is what Leto wants Stilgar to do. We'll kind of see maybe the nature of Stilgar's changed character in the fact that he comes up with an awful lot of other suggestions rather than I'll do that. Okay, if you see what I mean. So it's a little bit of a back and forth, and it's about persuasion. And again, we get to see some of Leto's thoughts here as well. But that's, it's an interesting little chat. Right, let's just catch up with your comments a wee second. So listen, yes, a few glitches, but hopefully it will smooth out. Fingers crossed, folks. It usually does settle a wee bit. I watch each episode back a wee bit. It is annoying sometimes when I'm glitching or you lose a little bit of sound or a little bit of video. Usually the video doesn't really matter too much. But it can be kind of annoying when you're saying making a particular point and you're looking back at the phone and looking at, it's gone, But these problems are kind of new problems, I suppose. But I'm looking into it and see if I can get something done. But our weather here, it's not the usual nasty, I suppose. Sometimes we get very dense fog and stuff here, and that can affect things. But it's very cold here at the minute. Chaya says, both sides are sending lots of barrages before the possible ceasefire tomorrow. So lots of GPS and signal jamming. Wow. But feel very safe, thank Hasham. It's good to hear, Chaya. I haven't been paying much attention to the news, actually, to be honest with you, so I'm not really sure what's going on out there. But that's a possible ceasefire sounds good, But glad to see feeling safe. That's good, Yeah, it's interesting. Sort of looking at your part of the world at the minute. We must get a wee chat sometimes, chat. Dear, oh dear. Right, let's have a wee look. But yeah, I've kind of turned off the news for a wee while. I'll catch bits of it, but I'm trying not to pay as much attention to it as I used to. Trying to find more sort of fun things to look at. Let's see. So here we go. Right, got me back. Right, we can start out, folks. Leto had come up in the night with Stilgar at the narrow ledge at the crest of the low rock outcropping which Sietch Tabr called the Attendant. Under the warm waning light of the second moon, the ledge gave them a panoramic view. The shield wall with Mount Idaho to the north, the Great Flat to the south, and rolling dunes eastward through Habanya Ridge. Winding dust, the aftermath of a storm, hid the southern horizon. Moonlight frosted the rim of the shield wall. Frank always likes his frosted frosting, if you like, on some of these descriptions. It goes all the way back to Dune, doesn't it? Stilgar had come against, joining the secret adventure finally because Leto aroused his curiosity. Pardon me. Now, that's one way of putting it. I'm not too sure about it. Town crossing in the night. Pardon me. The lad sneak away and make the journey alone if Stilgar refused. Now, the way of it bothered him profoundly, though. Two such important targets alone in the night. So just the fact that he threatened to sneak away, there's a little bit of that with Leto and Ganem earlier. It's a little bit of an emotional blow. Nothing too major. And I'm just going to go with maybe that's more of Stilgar's curiosity is. We'll see a little bit about that with his character as we go through the chapter. And the location here is important. Pardon me. And I think so is the timing. Why? So there are certain things that Stilgar is asking. Why risk a night journey? To be here at this or see this particular, as we're told, we kind of get almost a panoramic view from this point. And so it's to look upon a certain place, which is going to be which Leto's going to let us know is why it's important, I suppose. But it's also to invoke memories that Stilgar will have had in this place with Leto's father, Paul. But I think that there's a reason why are they here at dawn, and it's because the place is going to get lit up. If you like, we're going to have a good look at the place. Leto squatted on the ledge, facing south towards the flat. Occasionally, he pounded his knee as though in frustration. Still got it. He was good at silent waiting and stood 2 paces. For Leto, the sand crossing represented a response to inner desperation, a need to seek a new alignment for his life in a silent conflict which Ganima could no longer risk. So, the sand crossing itself represents a response to his inner desperation. He needs to seek something new, a new fit, if you like, for his life. And it has to be that it's a solo thing. Ganima can't risk this anymore for the reasons that we've found out that she delving into other memories become too dangerous for her. Here we go, a wee bit of manipulation. He had maneuvered Stilgar into sharing the journey because there were things Stilgar had to know in preparation for the days ahead. So that's the full motivation for this chapter, this conversation, everything that occurs in it. Stilgar's got to know what's coming, basically. And again, he pounded his knee, getting a very, I don't know, what would you call it, Ramstein verb vibe off Leto here. The pounding of the knee is a bit of an odd thing to me, I think. It was difficult to know a beginning. And we have a exclamation mark on that, don't we? Let me just check that there. All right. Get my wee paperweights there. There we go. Now it's the bottle. Try not to make it fall over. I'll tell you what. Sorry, bear with me a second. That's better. There we go. Yes. It was difficult to know a beginning. He felt at times like an extension of those countless other lives, all as real and immediate as his own. In the flow, no accomplishment, only eternal beginning. Clamoring at him as though he were a single window through which each desired to peer. And there lay the peril which had destroyed Alia. So I'll read that again. And there lay the peril which had destroyed. Yeah, it's an interesting way of putting it, isn't it? I like that. In terms of how you might imagine other memory, this mob, this little simile here as we've got it, as though he were a single window. Imagine this mob all trying to get a wee look out this window to see what's going on. It's a good way of putting it. I quite like that. And this is where the peril is, of course, that destroyed Alia. Leto stared outward at the moonlight silvering the storm remnants. Folds and overfolds of Dune spread across the flat. Silica grit measured out by the winds mounded into waves, pea sand, grit sand, pebbles. He felt himself caught in one of those poised moments just before dawn time. Sorry, hang on a second. Just to have a look at this. This is my appalling handwriting. I've been working with a different pen, would you believe? But that's no excuse. Poised moments just before dawn, yes. Yeah, oh, sorry. I'll read that again. He felt himself caught in one of those poised moments just before dawn. Time pressed at him. It was already the month of Akkad, and behind him lay the last of an interminable waiting time. Long hot days and hot dry winds, nights like this one tormented by gusts and endless blowings from the furnace lands of the Hawk Blade. He glanced over his shoulder toward the shield wall, a broken line in starlight. Beyond that wall, in the northern sink, lay the focus of his problems. Okay, So we're getting somewhere. What's the focus of his problems? So here we go. Once more he looked to the desert. As he stared into the hot darkness, day dawned. The sun rising out of dust. Sorry, the sun rising out of dust scarves and placing a touch of lime into the storm's red streamers. He closed his eyes, willing himself to see how this day would appear from Arrakis, and the city there in his consciousness caught up like a scattering of boxes between the light and the new shadows. Desert, boxes, desert, boxes. Mm. I think that's it's a funny little thing, that, isn't it? It made me think actually a bit more kindly of how Arrakis appeared in Denis Villeneuve's Dune, because it did just look like a lot of boxes. There was no, it's not really how I've ever thought of the city. If you see what I mean, I've always much more sort of thought of it in terms of something like out of the Arabian Nights, that a city like ancient cities like Basra or something like that. I don't know, just markets and all of this kind of thing. I've actually, I've a couple. I must show you. Actually, I don't. In fact, I'm reading the book at the moment. It's not here. It's down in another room. But I must show you some of the covers I have for the Arabian Nights, the editions that I have, and that's kind of what I always thought of Arrakis when I'd read it. That feeling, what it kind of looked like. Excuse me. So we've got this closed. We had this before. So the closed eyes, the opened eyes. We're getting a lot of color here as well, by the way. When he opened his eyes, the desert remained a spreading curry expanse of wind-kicked sand. Oily shadows along the base of each dune reached out like rays of the night just past. They linked one time with another. He thought of the night, squatting here with Stilgar, restless beside him. The older man worried at the silence and the unexplained reasons for coming to this place. Stilgar must have many memories of passing this way with his beloved Muad'Dib. Even now, Stilgar was moving, scanning all around, alert for dangers. Stilgar did not like the open and daylight. He was pure old Fremen in that. The older man worried at the silence and unexplained reasons. That's Leto's silence, I suppose. You get the sense he's waiting, we're going to get, sooner or later, we're going to have this discussion, if you like. It's about to start. Pardon me. And there's just some nice writing from Frank there, just with the ideas of just presenting the desert, the time of year, and the idea that Leto's going to try and he's imagining what this place looks like from Arrakis. Is that it? Well, he closed his eyes, willing himself to see how this day would appear from Arrakis, and the city, shifting it just to wonder what this would be like from over there, as opposed to this place out in the desert, this place at the Attendant near Siege Tamar. When he opened his eyes, the desert remained a spreading. Oh, sorry, I've already read that, haven't I? I'll read it again. Spreading curry expanse. He often, curry is the way he tends to describe the colours in Dune, doesn't Frank? Sorry, I'm getting all tongue-tied here. A spreading curry expanse of wind-kicked sand, only shadows along the base of each dune reached out like rays of the night just past. They linked one time with another, he thought, of the night. Sorry, they linked one time with another. That didn't flow well, did it? He thought there was a full stop there, that's why. He thought of the night, squatting here with Stilgar, restless beside him, the older man worried at the silence and the unexplained reasons for coming to this place. Stilgar must have many memories of passing this way with his beloved Muad'Dib. Even now, Stilgar is moving, scanning all round, alert for dangers. He did not like the open and daylight. He was pure old Fremen in that. Many memories, that's of passing this way with his beloved Muad'Dib. I think that it's the choice. That's why we're here. But It's also, as I said, as Leto's going to let us know where the place where he's going to die, possibly. Leto's mind, we're told, was reluctant to leave the night and the clean exertions of a sand crossing. Once here in the rocks, the night had taken on its black stillness. He sympathized with Stilgar's daylight fears. Black was a simple thing, even when it contained boiling terrors. Light could be many things. Night had its fears, smells, and its things which came with slithering sounds. Dimensions separated in the night, everything amplified, thorns sharper, blades more cutting. But terrors of the day could be worse. And I've made a wee note there just within that I quite like the writing here. The sympathized Stilgar's daylight fears. Black was a simple thing, even when it contained boiling terrors. The black stillness. Night had its fears, smells, etc. It was kind of slithering sounds. Dimensions separated in the night. I think that's really good. Everything amplified. Thorns sharper, blades more cutting, but the terrors of the day can be worse. Yeah, I just got a wee sense that the writing was a little bit vaguish when it came to the blackness of the night, if you like, the thing, things and stuff like that. But we get the same thing with the light as well. I suppose it's Stilgar seems to, it's just the preference of the darkness, if you like, makes things simpler. What's that? Don't know. But I think just with the light comes more knowledge. Is it that kind of thing of what might be out there? But a little bit of tension building, I suppose, with that, the fact that the dawn has arrived. Most of us would take that, it's morning and everything's great, this kind of thing. To Stilgar and the Fremen, this is being like, lit up for everyone to see. It's a dangerous thing. Stilgar cleared his throat. Leto spoke without turning. So this is where the conversation begins. I have a very serious problem still. So I surmised. The voice beside Leto became low and wary. The child had sounded disturbingly of the father. It was a thing of forbidden magic which touched a chord of revulsion in Stilgar. Fremen knew the terrors of possession. Those found possessed were rightfully killed, and their water cast upon the sand lest it contaminate the tribal cistern. The dead should remain dead. It was correct to find one's immortality in children, but children had no right to assume too exact a shape from the past. So we get some of the Fremen's attitudes to possession there. Where did that go? Bear with me a wee second. It's right in front of me. Right, there we go. So he sounds like Paul. He sounds like his father. A thing of forbidden magic which touched a chord of revulsion in Stilgar. The Fremen knew the terrors of possession. So we find out that the Fremen siege orgy is a form of temporary possession, isn't it? By the Fremen are temporarily possessed by their ancestors, who then basically have an orgy. And the way they deal with it is that they kind of don't talk about it. If you see what I mean, that they just sort of suppress it, if you like. So the terrors of possession. So possession is a part of Fremen life, if you like. In that sense, it's part of their siege orgy. The siege orgy has a religious aspect to it, as does pretty much everything with the Fremen, I suppose. But it also involves, so we've been told, possession. Those found possessed were rightfully killed. So it's an interesting thing that anyone possessed, but technically everybody gets possessed in the siege orgy. Obviously, I think we're talking about someone who's completely taken over by a person, if you like. But here's the justice for it. So they're killed, and not only that they take their water and then pour it on the sand, so it doesn't contaminate the tribal cistern. And I've actually thought about that. It says here the dead should remain dead. But in terms of how the Fremen do business, if you like, that's incredibly wasteful. Um, and that someone's water would not, that, you know, it's so it's an example of the religious aspects of the Fremen culture and behavior in relation to water working in a negative way. And I think we've had other stuff like that as well, but no, we wouldn't touch that water. Um, on a planet where prior to the arrival of Muad'Dib, it said that the preservation of every single drop of water has been paramount to these people. But there you go. Not these, not the possessed though. We wouldn't touch their water. I think that's interesting. As much as the religious things speak to one side of it, the whole pragmatism towards water has become religious as well. And I thought that struck me as odd that they would waste that water. If you see what I mean. Let me just catch up with your comments, folks. Christopher Crowley saying, "Hi, Christopher. I picture both of the twins having the heaviest of sighs when having to correct prod the adults in their lives. Yeah, we're going to get a wee bit of that. It's just, yeah, and I'm sure we've all been there, haven't we? We've all been at some point. We've all been kids. We've something that's probably been quite important, and we've not been taken seriously because we were a kid. And this kind of thing, maybe carries on into adult life. But yeah, with all that knowledge." And there's Carlos saying, "Hey guys, sorry I'm late." No worries, Carlos. How you doing? "In the wild, silence indicates the presence of predators and danger." Yeah, there's been some good wee bits of writing actually in here. I like the difference between the attempt to sort of suggest, I don't know, the bit earlier, Carlos, where the difference between the black and the light, I think. I didn't see that either as being much different, to be honest. The idea is just, I think the idea is that nighttime is simpler because you can't see what's everything kind of just it's just all black shadows. There's even dimensions breakdown. There's no depth or height or width Sorry, this kind of thing. But the terrors of the day could be worse. But my favorite little bit in that is the slithering sounds. Wild silence indicates the presence of predators and danger. Something said in the previous chapter, Alia recalls the encroaching green. Yes, the thorn boundary dividing Arrakis and the desert. Leto seems to be looking on a desert scene from the past. Yeah, we'll be going to scenes from the past, won't we? Specifically, he's going to bring up a couple of things too. Stilgar, and I that's kind of as what you're saying. I kind of thought that's why the choice to come here to get to have the evocation of memory, if you like, but also for that to work for Stilgar too. To bring up the past, as you say, looking on a desert scene from the past. I tend to get that with the eyes closed, the eyes open. He kind of went to a view from Arrakis, didn't he, and then back to here. We've been getting a little bit of that. It's almost as if you're closing your eyes and opening it, hoping to see something else, isn't it? Where was that? What was I thinking of? Was that the previous chapter? I think it might have been the chapter before that, actually. Oddly enough, when people close their eyes and open them in this book, I tend to draw it. Oh, there we go. That's how I found it. There you are. See what I mean? There we go. Previously, what did we have? That's the bit that Cynthia is talking about. All the hills were man-made. Every last one of them had been planted by men who had laboured like crawling insects. The green of those hills was almost overpowering to someone raised as Ali had been in the tradition of dun-shaded sand. In her mind, as in the minds of all Fremen, the ocean desert still held Dune in a grip which would never relax. She had only to close her eyes and she would see that desert. Open eyes at the desert edge saw now the verdant hills marched slime, reaching in green pseudopods towards the sun, but the other desert remained as powerful as ever. It's, yeah, the opening and closing of eyes. We've had it in the previous chapter with Alien. It's like the desert imagined and the desert that's now, if you like, the desert of myth, the desert of power that's always been there. Pardon me, being replaced with what is here. Julian said they purge possession and ancestral memory in a large mass catharsis. Yeah, and that's right. The teacher, but I got the sense that they just don't talk about it. If you see, some cultures have funny attitudes towards sex, I suppose. But I thought it was kind of fun. It was an interesting revelation when it occurred. I thought very much this link to possession and other memory. With the Fremen and their use of the water of life. Excuse me a wee second, folks. I'm going to go for the cough medicine here. And I got my honey bottle cleaned. Tried to get some honey the other day and ended up covered in the stuff. There we go. All the good throaty stuff. But yeah, and the same as it purge possession and ancestral mind, but they catch anybody possessed and it's a death sentence. And so we've got that's the second culture within the Dune series, if you like, or we'll just go with the word culture, if you like, that has a problem with possession, has a religious problem with possession, and is happy to kill. So the Fremen will kill the possessed to the point where they won't even bother to take their water and just ditch it on the sand. And the Bene Gesserit are the same. Yeah, wasteful. So let's see. And there's an interesting statement there, by the way, it was correct to find one's immortality in children, but that children had no right to assume too exact a shape from their past. We don't want our children being, a particular person from the past. Some people, better that they're gone, I suppose, if you see what I mean. So here we go. Here's Leto. My problem is that my father left so many things undone, Leto said, especially the focus of our lives. The Empire cannot go on this way. Still, without a proper focus for human life. I am speaking of life, you understand? Life, not death. Pardon me. Once when he was troubled by a vision, your father spoke in this vein to me, Stilgar said. Pardon me again. That's the cough, isn't it? Leto found himself tempted to pass off that questioning fear. Beside him with a light response, perhaps a suggestion that they break their fast. He realized that he was very hungry. They had eaten the previous noon, and Leto had insisted on fasting through the night. But another hunger drew him now. The trouble, this is his thoughts here. The trouble with my life is the trouble with this place, Leto thought. Okay, let's see. So the same thing. No preliminary creation. I just go back and back and back until distances fade away. I cannot see the horizon. I cannot see Habanya Ridge. I cannot find the original place of testing. So that was his thoughts. And then this is what he says. There's really no substitute for prescience. Leto said, perhaps I should risk the spice and be destroyed as your father was. A dilemma, Leto said. That's a bit of an understatement, isn't it? Once your father confided in me that knowing the future too well was to be locked into that future to the exclusion of any freedom to change. Now, just before we go on any further, I wanted to jump back a wee second just before we forget about it. I thought it was an interesting thing. Life, I don't know if I scribbled something down over here. Paradox, the blind. No, I haven't gone on, sorry. The trouble with my life is the trouble with this place. No preliminary creation. That's quite an interesting statement, and I'm wondering what it means. No preliminary creation. I just go back and back and back until distances fade away. I cannot see the horizon. I cannot see Habanya Ridge. I cannot find the original place of testing. Now, I've wondered, first of all, what's the test he's talking? Place of testing. Is this where Paul was tested, for example, or is this to be his test? And if it was where, I'm wondering where my father was tested the first time, and I don't think it is, then all he has to do is ask Stilgar. Stilgar would know. But no preliminary creation got me thinking about all sorts of things, even down to the fact that the trouble with my life is the trouble with this place. So what is, I take it he means Arrakis by that, and that there's no preliminary creation. Can't see a beginning here. And again, there's something that turned Arrakis into what it was, but what was it before that? At the same time, I think he's also talking about other memory within all the lives within him. He can go back and back and back until the distances fade away, but he can't see the horizon. Can't see a point of creation, of an origin point, if you like. Can't see Habanya Ridge. Can't find the original place of testing. So it's an interesting little thing. I'm wondering what you think about this, guys. I think it could be interpreted a couple of different ways. But it's because of that he says, "Oh, there's no substitute for prescience, is there?" If only I could see this. And the temptation's there. Perhaps I should risk the space. And Stilgar points out, "And be destroyed as your father was." And I think his response is a wee bit, humorous. I think that's a dilemma. Nothing too heavy, I think. Maybe just an attempt to lighten the mood. And once again, there's another thing that Stilgar in the presence of Muad'Dib, if you like, once your father confided to me that knowing the future too well was to be locked into that future to the exclusion of any freedom to change. So this is what Leto says. The paradox, which is our problem, Leto said, it's a subtle and powerful thing, prescience. The future becomes now. To be sighted in the land of the blind carries its own perils. If you try to interpret what you see for the blind, you tend to forget that the blind possess an inherent movement conditioned by the blindness. They are like a monstrous machine, moving along its own path. They have their own momentum, their own fixations. I fear the blind still. I fear them. They can so easily crush anything in their path. And Stilgar stared at the desert. Lime dawn had become steel day. He said, "Why have we come to this place?" So before we jump any further ahead, pardon me, the paradox here. Paradox is a big thing in this chapter. It's arguably one of the main themes of Dune, if you like, or ultimately what's it all about. And quite frankly, paradox is a good answer. The paradox is our problem is subtle and powerful thing. Prescience. The future becomes the now. To be sighted in the land of the blind carries its own perils. So that like the one-eyed man, the one-eyed man is king in the land of the blind. This kind of thing. If you try to interpret what you see for the blind, you tend to forget that the blind possess an inherent movement conditioned by the blindness. They're like a monstrous machine moving along its own path. They have their own momentum, their own fixations. I fear the blind still. I fear them. They can so easily crush anything in their path. So I suppose the idea that movement, to be sighted in the land of the blind, if you like, to be the one person prescient in the rest of the empire, I would fear the rest of them blindly stumbling, not knowing what they walk over, this kind of thing. But that's life, isn't it? That's what we all blindly stumble. It's a trick here from Frank, I think. But I hope I'm that's what Leto fears then. It would be in a sense who stumble forward with a particular set of movements, with their own fixations that can easily crush things in their path. Where are we? Oh, Julian says, I was trying to figure out where it was in the comments, folks. Apologies. I just remembered how good this chapter is. Joseph Smith saying, don't forget the like button. Yeah, folks, give us a like or a subscribe or something, whatever it is you do. If you're enjoying the program, I tend to not remember to say stuff like that, but thanks for Joseph tends to remind me now. And how you doing, Joseph, by the way? Thanks very much for joining us. It is a good chapter, isn't it? It's it's I mean, the last chapter I thought was a great chapter for getting your teeth into. This one is like Frank says within this, it's a subtler thing, this chapter. We have a manipulation of Stilgar by Leto. We've been told as much. But yeah, we're getting a little bit of, I suppose, the future, the past. There's a little bit of it all here, but we're really, what's coming is it's really setting things up. And it's a good chapter. Threat of destruction, all of this kind of stuff. Stilgar stared at the desert. Lime dawn had become steel day, like that shift of the colors. Why have we come to this place? Okay, so here it is. Because I wanted you to see the place where I may die. This is one of the reasons. Stilgar tensed then. So you've had a vision. Perhaps it was only a dream. Why do you come to such a dangerous place? Stilgar glared down at this charge. We will return at once. I won't die today, still. So it's almost as if it wants to hear, oh, is this a vision? It's okay, calm down. It's not today. But up until that point, the previous, why do you come to such a dangerous place? If you're going to die here, why come here now? We will return at once. So Stilgar again trying to be protective. But it's not today, still, is what he's telling him. No, what was this vision? And there's, by the way, there you go. That's the hook for Stilgar, as we've been told, by the way, earlier. And I think it's a bit of an out for him, if you like. But why is Stilgar here? We're told it's because Leto aroused his curiosity. Just within the character. That's a good bit of writing there, because there is that curiosity there. And we see it throughout the chapter, I think. So what was this vision? We're going to get Leto's 3 paths here. So path number 1, but let's just run it. Leto says, I saw 3 paths, Leto said. His voice came out with the sleepy sounds of remembrance. Oh, sorry, I'll do that again then. I saw 3 paths. One of those futures requires me to kill our grandmother. Future number 1, kill Jessica. Stilgar shot a sharp glance back towards Siege Tabor, as though he feared the Lady Jessica could hear them across the sandy distance. Why? To keep from losing the spice monopoly. I don't understand. Nor do I. But that is the thought of my dream when I use the knife. So, again, Paul's using the word dream. Maybe a vision to Stilgar. We're wondering, are they prescient dreams? But there's 3 different realities here, or 3 different paths, if you like. Pardon me. So what are the 3 paths? Number 1, I kill Jessica. Why? Stop from losing the spice monopoly. Why do you, I don't understand. That's the thought that I have in the dream when I'm using the knife. So basically, when he's killing her in the dream, his thoughts are, this is to stop us from losing the spice monopoly. So it's not a personal killing, if you like, possibly. Path number 2, here we go. Stilgar understood the use of the knife. He drew a deep breath. What is the second path? Gani and I marry to seal the Atreides bloodline. Gah! Stilgar expelled his breath in a violent expression of distaste. It was usual in ancient times for kings and queens to do this, Leto said. Gani and I have decided We will not breed. So no. No to path number 2. And we get a response from Stilgar here, which is an interesting one, and it is tantamount almost to a threat. I warn you to hold fast to that decision. Big exclamation mark there. There was death in Stilgar's voice. By Fremen law, incest was punishable by death on the hanging tripod. He cleared his throat and asked, "And the third path?" "I am required to reduce my father to human stature." "He was my friend, Muad'Dib," Stilgar muttered. "He was your god. I must undeify him." Now, I'm going to take a wee quick pause for a second, folks, just to run the loot, and I'll be right back. I've got a couple of wee things to say there. I'll just make a wee note where I'm at with a wee star. Right, there we go. Excuse me a wee second. Sorry, folks, didn't want you watching me losing watching me fight a losing battle with a child-proof lid. And I got a cough medicine bottle. Excuse me. Pardon me, gone all coffee again now. Joseph saying, "I've been better, but I'm glad to hear your voice." Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Joseph. I hope you get better. I hope all's well with you. Skip to the loo, my darling. Lulu, skip to my loo. Did I say that? That's an old-fashioned thing, isn't it? Excuse me. I'm going to have a good cough here. Hang on a second. I'm still getting there with this old throat, but I am getting there. Oh, let's try the honey this time, right? It's a weird thing. I don't know. Sometimes I think it's to do with different parts of the house or kind of different temperatures or something. But whenever I come in here and sit down and start talking, for the first few minutes, off I go. And I'm running around the rest of the day, not coughing or wheezing or spluttering at all. But I suppose the point is, by the time I get to do this with you guys, I've done a fair amount of nattering all day already. I think that's the problem. Now, let's see. Excuse me. So we got the 3 paths. Number 1, kill Granny. Number 2, marry my sister and produce children. Path number 3, Reduce my father to human stature, undeify him, as it's put. Now, what was the bit that I felt was a bit weird? Right, it was path number 2. Gally and I married Celia Trudy's bloodline. Excuse me. Stilgar's response. So it was unusual. It was usual in ancient times for kings and queens to do this. Leto said, Gally and I have decided we'll not breed, but I warn you to hold fast to that decision. There was death in his voice. By Fremen law, incest was punishable by death on the hanging tripod. No, I just thought that was funny. Not for the incest bit itself, but technically, the Fremen siege orgy. If everybody's possessed, there's no reason why they couldn't be possessed by their parents, their sisters, their brothers, their daughters, their sons, etc., 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 and then they all have sex in this orgiastic kind of thing. It strikes me as quite possible that incest can occur within the siege orgy, if you the spice orgy. Just as a mental exercise, I started thinking about it. But again, they don't talk about it, if you like. But it's a warning. So a little bit more insight into Fremen law, possession, sentence of death, incest, sentence of death. This kind of, generally it seems a lot of things carry the sentence of death with them. And even the blind, off to the desert with you, that's a sentence of death pretty much as well. So I'm required to reduce my father to human stature. He was my friend Muad'Dib. Stilgar muttered. He was your god. I must undeify him. Stilgar, we're told, turned his back on the desert, stared towards the oasis of his beloved Siege Tabar. Such talk always disturbed him. I like this bit. Leto sensed the sweaty smell of Stilgar's movement. Sensed the sweaty smell of Stilgar's movement. I thought that's a very interesting turn of phrase, isn't it? And why use the word sensed? But it just Leto smelled the sweat. The sense of smell, isn't it? It's a funny one. But I liked it. Leto sensed the sweaty smell of Stilgar's movement. It was such a temptation to avoid the purposeful things which had to be said here. They could talk half the day away, moving from the specific to the abstract, as though drawn away from real decisions, from these immediate necessities which confronted them. And there was no doubt House Carino posed a real threat to real lives, his own and Ganima's. But everything he did now had to be weighed and tested against the secret necessities. Not to be confused with the bare necessities. Sorry, I'm just underlining something here. So House Carino are definitely a threat to my life and Ganima's, but everything that we do now has got to be weighed against the secret necessities. What those are, we're not too sure, but we'll get a sense of it here. Stilgar once had voted to have Farad'n assassinated, holding out for the subtle application of chalmerky, poison administered in a drink. Farad'n was known to be partial to certain sweet liquors that could not be permitted. Now, in other words, I can't have Farad'n killed. That's important, obviously, I think. But Stilgar's, and since they've voted, by the way, they've had a chat about this and decided, right, let's vote on whether to kill Prince Farad'n. And I take it that the vote has come out as a no, or the negative. And they were going to poison him. And I just wanted to say this, by the way, a couple of things in this that reminded me of problems with Brian Herbert, Kevin J. Anderson books. The way Dune, the Denis Villeneuve Dune movies portrayed certain things, but one of them here, and also to do with Dune, actually it's Dune Prophecy, we'd be thinking, is if anybody's not seen it, I'll not spoil it, but there's a use of a poison in it, and words would have nothing to do with it at all. holding and subtlety seems to be kind of devoid, I think, in that. The subtle application of charm work, right? Poisoning is a subtle thing in this universe. That's what I wanted to point out. I think we'd already figured it out. It's part and parcel of life within the the great houses, etc., prior to the Arrakis affair, etc. Yeah, poison. Just within the Dune prophecy, the word subtle could not be used with the word poison in that show, I think. But there was something else. What was it? It was a particular turn of phrase, so it reminded me on something. Let me see. Bear with me a second, folks. No preliminary creation. That was it. If you see what I mean. And as much as it's going to be the shows, I think TV shows and things like that, when people adapt these things, that there is no preliminary creation. If you like, you didn't create this, you didn't make it, you don't know the ins and outs of it. You're second hand to everything, and particularly with a story like Dune, I think that tends to do a wee bit of harm, Well, we got to keep Farad'n alive, is what we get out of that. And we also know he's partial to certain sweet liquors that could not be permitted. So his weaknesses have been identified, if you like. His habits. He likes a particular type of drink, and that's the best way to deal with him. But yes, the subtle application of Chalmercury. Poison in a drink. Chalmercury chalice. Now, so this is Leto then. Of course, that just prior to that, then we're getting that thought process. Farad'n it could not be permitted, can't be permitted for Farad'n to be killed. We can't kill Farad'n. I've written next to that. Why? It's worth finding out. We will find out. If I die here still, Leto said, you must be aware of Alia. She is no longer your friend. Have I written that down right? Let me just see. Yeah, it's beware, isn't it? I didn't. You must be aware of Alia. I am aware. Sorry, that's me being silly. Must be beware of Alia. If I die here still, Leto said, you must be aware of. Beware. You must be beware of Alia. Is that right? Oh, for goodness sake. No. Right. You must be. Sorry. I'll read that again. That's just my text there. I've made a mistake. If I die here still, Leto said, you must beware of Alia. That's it. She is no longer your friend. And I've written next to this, folks, based on the last chapter. How does Stilgar not know this? In the previous chapter, let me just make a wee note of where we're at there. In the previous chapter with the preacher's warnings, very, very public warnings, it's possible that they're they're away at this point, I think. Let me just check. Had a night and a dawn. Shortly after noon. I would assume that this is the dawn after that day. Possibly they've already been out. Why does Stilgar not know about the message that's aimed at him? My second message is for Stilgar the Fremen, who believes he can translate the power of the tribes into the power of the Imperium. My warning to you, Stilgar. Oh, sorry, that's just It's not that it's I was mixing things up in my head. But what I was thinking was, how does he not know that Ali is a bit of a problem at this point? But I suppose he's maybe been kept out of the loop. But I'm thinking in terms of this, that it's the time frame. Actually, but I just thought somebody would have reported to him at some point what's been said by the preacher in that square. There we are. Right, let's just catch up here. Comments. Carlos Crescent. I've often thought that a Fremen siege probably smelled horrible. Yes, indeed. I can get the sense that Fremen smell really bad. There's that bit where, wasn't it, when we were looking at Jim Messiah? We were talking about the evil odors, but it was Paul taking off his boots or something like that. The stench. I'd imagine that the average Fremen doesn't smell very well, but yeah, put 10,000 of them. It would smell pretty bad. I didn't get the Comic-Con this year up in Belfast, but I took my son Matthew up to the one previous year, and it was quite a warm day, to be honest, but the place stank of BO. It was humming. Very noticeably so, and that's just a Comic-Con thing, But yes, indeed, how bad did the Fremen smell? Real bad. I think probably why they've got filters up their nose. Joseph Smith said, absolutely loving prophecy, save for the nudity stuff. Just saying, Carlos, I agree. It's all right. It's okay. I thought the opening narration, the first episode, was appalling. There's some stuff in it that just seems a bit dumb, I think. I don't know, but no, the acting's good and stuff. It's not all bad or anything like that. But it's not great either. But I'm watching it and I'm not hating it, Joseph, if you know what I mean. But I don't know. It's not coming across as being particularly clever. I think that's all my main criticism of it is. I think the acting's pretty good. It's got some good actors in it. But the bit that I was talking about, the poison subtlety, certain things. I always got the sense that certain things in the Dune universe are not overt for a reason. Let's see, where do we get to? Okay, so if I die here still, you must beware of Alia. She is no longer your friend. What is this talk of death and your aunt? Now Stilgar was truly outraged. I think we get his thoughts here. Kill the lady Jessica? Beware of Alia? Die in this place? It's a good little trio of things. Lots. It's a great thing there. Frank's got 3 short sentences with 3 exclamation marks. That's a Bangaree, royal flush. Here we go. Small men change their faces at her command. Leto said, a ruler need not be a prophet still, nor even godlike. A ruler need only be sensitive. I brought you here with me to clarify what our Imperium requires. It requires good government. That does not depend on laws or precedent, but upon the personal qualities of whoever governs. Get some of Frank's ideas on government, I suppose, here. You don't need to be a prophet, you don't even need to be a god. You need to be sensitive. Need only be sensitive. I've written next that, no. You need to be a lot more than just sensitive. But yeah, to be sensitive to your people's needs, I think is an obvious one. Yes, you should, be sensitive and sensible, I think. But there are many qualities of an individual to be a person who could govern well, if you like. I suppose Plato's Republic looks at it with what is it they call the philosopher kings, this kind of thing. That would be your ideal person to govern society. I've never agreed with that. Good government depends not on laws or precedent, but upon the personal qualities of whoever governs. I do agree, but again, that it comes down to the crux of the problem in Dune, isn't it? That people who govern are often elected for political reasons, and the political reasons tend to be, how would we put it, the qualities of that individual. It tends to be their personality that gets them elected. Whether that personality is any good at running the government is not the same as saying you're going to run it, if that makes sense. I think there is. I'll be honest with you. In terms of running a country, a small nation, a city-state, whatever you want to call it, I don't think there's any training at all that can prepare you for it. I think it's very much a kind of sinker. Yeah, you can study politics, you can study bureaucracy, you can study business administration, you can study law, you can study economics. There's lots of ways to approach government, isn't there? And lots of doors into it. Um, but it's a tricky thing. I think I don't think there is a map or a plan to produce a good governor, a good politician, if you like. Um, Very much a sink or swim thing in at the deep end, that kind of thing. How you handle the pressure, I think, is as much a part of the qualities that you might be required to do the job. Pressure is a big one, I would think. Pardon me. Um, so the reason why you're here is for me to clarify what the Imperium needs. It needs good government. And we kind of get it's almost we talk about recurring motifs and stuff within the Dune series. This is a bit like Paul and Alia in Dune Messiah having a bit of a matter with Stilgar about how they rule. This is more about government, what requires good government, I suppose, rather than rule. So Stilgar's response here is the Regency handles its imperial duties quite well. Stilgar said, when you come of age, we get a big response here. He's cut off. I am of age. I'm the oldest person here. You're a puling infant beside me. I can remember times more than 50 centuries past. Ha! I can even remember when we Fremen were on Third Grod. Third Grod we've chatted about before. The last time we mentioned, pardon me, and I'm not too sure which of the big notebooks it's in. Last time we mentioned the migratory, the planets that are the different migratory homes of the Zen Sunni wanderers that ultimately become the Fremen. So this is another one that's added into the list. Third Grod. Let me see. Oh goodness, hang on. Not sure if I could find this at all, actually, but I tend to draw wee planets. Bear with me a second. But we have a wee. I can't remember how many there are in total. I think there's 6 or 7 planets on the list. Let me just see if I can have a wee quick flick through. I might spot it because I would have listed them. Tell you what, hang on. Let me see. I might know how to find this. Bear with me a wee second. I need that out the road. Let's see. Right. Bear with me a wee second, folks. Herbert Dune, looking for Dune Messiah here. I think it was the last. There we go. I think it was the last time that we heard the planets. Just to see if we can be a wee bit. Here we go. Let's do a wee quick search. Let's see. Nope, I'm not finding that there. It's in a previous episode, folks, so it's work we've done before. I was just having a wee flick through. Oh, I thought I found it there for a second. But I've got 2 full notebooks on Dune Messiah. I don't think it was it? Maybe it was in this book. Let me have a. I'm actually literally just at the end of our first notebook here on Children of Dune. My goodness, some chapters you get full of stuff, and some. Tell you what, let me just use this. What do we got here? Bear with me a second, folks. Hopefully, I got something here for you. What are the planets? Right, there we go. So, starting with Nilotic Al Oruba. Nilotic Al Oruba. Poratrin is number 2. Seleucus Secundus number 3. Belotegus number 4. Rossack number 5. It says here. Thurgrod number 6, Harmonthep number 7, and Arrakis number 8. Now, whenever I did this, I had a look at this, and I didn't think it was possible to tell which planet, either Thurgrod or Harmonthep, that the Fremen arrived at first. I don't think I could have said that they were number 6 and number 7, if you see what I mean. And so I kind of had that because we did have a look, and I don't think we could determine exactly which one they went to first. But that's the full list of the planets on the Fremen migrations, if you like. And this is the first time that this one is mentioned here. So it's another little drop of expanding the Fremen lore, if you like, Julian says, Doc Sloan has discussed how living in the Dune universe would be highly unpleasant. Yes, not half, I think. The smell alone, on Arrakis, Leto, Cynthia said, Leto echoes Irulan's comments in the council that they have lost something vital. Here, Leto suggests that the people need a focus for a human life. Was Paul unable to provide this, or has it faded? That's a good point. Was he unable to provide it? Yes, I think so. The minute Paul took power, I think the jihad kicked off. And focus for human life. What you get is jihad with Paul and billions of people dead. Well, it's not vital pertaining to life, is it? I think, Paul, I don't think he was able to do it. It's the sort of thing that we talked about before you take power. Would you ever consider what kind of government you would actually run, this kind of thing, before you do so? But I don't know. I tend to get the sense, certainly within this book, that Paul's lost in the future, trying to prevent some sort of cataclysmic event, and that everything else is irrelevant to him. Hence the massive body count. With Leto, we're being told something here with Leto. Life is important, I think, but I think ultimately we might have to question whether it is Leto being deceptive or not, which is interesting because with the outcome, I suppose. I tend to look at Leto as being much worse than Paul. But this is young Leto. We haven't got there yet, But yes, the sense that something vital, that even though, and the other thing is that there's a paradox, and paradox is the huge thing with that, isn't it? With this chapter as well. The idea that they're bringing life to Arrakis, that we're bringing life, we're transplanting life, we're going to make this more habitable, more livable. The paradox is that they're killing the planet, isn't it? It's interesting. This is, I suppose, this is the age-old problem of the well, we were talking about it back with Ali, I suppose, but the very clever baby type, the adult baby type character, or the adult child, or the how would you put it, the child that is incredibly knowledgeable and wise beyond its years, those kind of characters, if you like. When you come, so again, it's the fact that Stilgar's looking at him as a child, and he kind of freaks out a wee bit about it. Here, I am of age. I'm the oldest person here. I'm older than you. You're a pureling infant. I can remember this. I can remember that. I can even remember when we were on. It's like he's playing Fremen top trumps, if you like, with Stilgar. Why do you play with such fancies? Play is the word there, and fancies. Stilgar demanded, his tone peremptory. Leto nodded to himself. Why indeed? Why account his memories of those other centuries? Why to do that? Today's Fremen were his immediate problem, most of them still only half-tamed savages, prone to laugh at unlucky innocence. That's an interesting way of putting it, isn't it? Is that what Leto really thinks about the Fremen? Pardon me, and or is that an Atreides viewpoint? I don't know. Maybe it's just being honest with his language. It's not a particularly nice view of the Fremen, is it? But we're told that today's Fremen, and maybe that's not the Fremen of the past, are his immediate problem. Most of them only half-tamed savages. They're not fully tamed, that only half the job has been done. And the word savage is a term that's always loaded. I think it's an interesting term. It's always an interesting term in literature, I think. Prone to laugh at unlucky innocence. I get that as kind of like Schadenfreude, something like that. Taking amusement in other people's misfortune. Now we get this little bit about the crysknife here. The crysknife dissolves at the death of its owner, Leto said. Muad'Dib has dissolved. Why are the Fremen still alive? That's an interesting little thing. So if you run with that sort of that metaphor, the crysknife dissolves on the death of its owner. Okay, so if I'm a Fremen and I drop dead and that's my crysknife, I die and it dissolves. So the idea that's presented here is that Muad'Dib is the weapon of the Fremen, and that he's dissolved like a crysknife that's fixed to its owner. Therefore, why are the Fremen not dead? is not quite what it's to put. It's why are they still alive, I suppose. And of course, it's interesting the way he said that, because we kind of know that Muad'Dib has not dissolved. That Muad'Dib's the preacher. We're pretty much certain of it by now, whether some characters have their doubts. So he isn't really dead, and why are the Fremen still alive? What's their point? It's an interesting way of putting it, but it kind of lines up with the idea of the Bene Gesserit idea of the Kwisatz Haderach being a weapon, if you like, and that they had always intended to wield and stand behind, for want of a better way of putting it. But it seems that this weapon was wielded by the Fremen. It's a nice little way of putting it. And Leto's kind of remarks are being a little bit vague, maybe a little bit zen, I don't know. A little bit confusing for Stilgar. It was one of those thought changes, we're told, which so confounded Stilgar, he found himself temporarily dumb. Such words contain meaning, but their intent eluded him. So in other words, I know what he's kind of saying, but what's the point of all of this? I am expected to be emperor, but I must be the servant, Leto said. He glanced across his shoulder at Stilgar. There's a lot of glancing across shoulders in this chapter. I don't know. Started to remind me of Zendaya and Danny Villeneuve's Dune, doing a lot of that over-the-shoulder glancing. And why a lot of it, I thought. My grandfather, for whom I was named, added new words to his coat of arms when he came here to Dune. Here I am, here I remain. And I wrote next to that, when did he get time to do that? When did he do that? Here I am, here I remain. Which is a bit more sensible, I suppose, than the words in the film as well. Now, Stilgar says this. Sorry, he had no choice, Stilgar said. And I've written next that, no, he's wrong. And Leto's response here, very good still. Nor have I any choice. And I've written down next to this, no, he's got three choices. And it says, I should be the emperor by birth, by the fitness of my understanding, by all that has gone into me. I even know what the Imperium requires: good government. Naib has an ancient meaning, Stilgar said. It is servant of the siege. I remember your training still, Leto said. For proper government, the tribe must have ways to choose men whose lives reflect the way a government should behave. From the depths of his Fremen soul, Stilgar said, you'll assume the imperial mantle if it's meet. First, you must prove that you can behave in the fashion of a ruler. Unexpectedly, Leto laughed. Then, do you doubt my sincerity still? Of course not. My birthright? You are who you are. And if I do what is expected of me, that is the measure of my sincerity, eh? It is the Fremen practice. Then I cannot have inner feelings to guide my behavior. I don't understand what... If we always behave with propriety, no matter what it costs me to suppress my own desires, then that is the measure of me? Such is the essence of self-control, youngster. Youngster, Leto shook his head. Still, you provide me with the key to a rational ethic of government. I must be constant, every action rooted in the traditions of the past. That is proper. But my past goes deeper than yours. What difference? I have no first person singular still. I am a multiple person with memories of traditions more ancient than you could imagine. That's my burden still. I'm past directed. I'm abrim with innate knowledge which resists newness and change. Yet Muad'Dib changed all this. And he gestured at the desert, his arms sweeping to encompass the shield wall behind him. Now, just to back up a wee minute there, back to the previous page. Where do we go? There's a couple of interesting things. So first of all, we get the Atreides update of the Atreides coat of arms, I suppose, which and you could look at it in two ways: tragic or comic, I suppose. Well, you could look at it in lots of ways. Tragic comic, we'll go with it. But here I am, and here I remain. There he was, and there he stayed, because that's where he died. I think it's an interesting one, but at the same time, if we run with that, if that's the Atreides coat of arms, I suppose that's the interesting thing. There'd be a family coat of arms, but Paul and Leto would have their own, wouldn't they? They'd have their own individual coats of arms. But first of all, the idea that Leto the First had no choice. We've discussed this way back in the Dune Book Club. He does have choices. He does have options. He could have got his entire family out of there. It's all discussed. Within Dune is basically that Leto could take his house and run to Tupac and just go and become a rebel house and live there, and they'd be fine. It's a choice. As much as he said he had no choice, he did. Nor have I any choice. So I don't know what that's about. Is that some sort of self-delusion? Again, is that a history voice kind of speaking? That I have no choice. We've just the start of this chapter is basically where he's pointed out that I've got three paths I could take. Number one, kill Granny. Two, have sex with my sister and breed. Or number three, undeify my father. So he's picked. So he has it. Choices are there. I think, which is interesting. But we're told no choice, and I've got no choice either. It's incorrect in both cases. So Leto's basically saying, what do you think? You've got to choose men whose lives reflect the way a government should behave. Now, the next little bit was interesting. You'll assume the imperial mantle if it's meat. And I was wondering about that. There. Now, meat, that almost doesn't seem to make sense, does it? But And I was wondering about this. Maybe somebody could just check their copies of it. But meat is an archaic word, is a really old, not as in hello, I'm going up to meet someone. Is something that's suitable, something that's proper, which leads to the word meat. Meat, I suppose. So suitable or proper in that case, you'll assume the imperial mantle, if it's suitable or proper, is what the word meat means there. Just in case I went, what's this? That's a bit rum. So off I went and investigated it because I was actually thinking that was a mistake or a misprint. But now it isn't archaic, it's a really old fashioned use of the word. In that case, it makes sense. Pardon me. Let's have a look at your comments, folks, just before we move on. China says, excuse me. China says, jihad was to promote survival genetically, one type of life purpose. Is the jihad still expanding across the verse? I don't see anybody having put an end to it at this point, to be honest with you. But we did, again, within Dune Messiah, we had Fremen returning, people coming back from the jihad, etc. But I also got the strong sense that throughout the action of Dune Messiah, that Alia is still directing the jihad. It's her that gives it the orders. I don't know if that would have changed or not. But I got the sense that it was maybe it was a finite thing, that it lasted 12 years or so. But I'm not too sure. Is it still going on? Possibly not. Especially with this idea of we need to go to good government, because there's lots of people out there who've been on the receipt. That's the gist of what we were talking about earlier. That have been on the receiving end of this jihad, and they didn't like it. Why would you? And so as much as the Fremen have been careful, they've probably spread themselves quite thin across the universe, I would imagine. But I think the suggestion is that's why we need to head towards a government that's focused on life, because if we keep this up for much longer, the rest of the universe is going to come and kill us, I think would be what you would expect. So it's not, and again, asking about Leto, do you doubt my sincerity? Not my sincerity. It's not your birthright. Is it what's expected of me? That kind of thing is the measure of my sincerity. So it's about self-control, not sort of succumbing to your own inner desires, this kind of thing. And again, we get the sense, such as the essence of self-control, youngster, sort of provoking Leto again with calling him a youngster, because it gets this youngster, response. Alia has lost Paul's charisma and rules with fear, or maybe it's mostly the Barons doing. But the people on Dune are losing their traditions as Kain's vision comes to life. Yes, we've even had people drowning on Arrakis as well. Carlos Sanchak goes a long way to explaining the way old people fear new ways. The devil, better the devil you know. Yes, indeed. It's easy to deal with the devil, that's the thing. Arrakis said, here I am, here I remain. From book one, said, I'm pretty sure at the staff meeting at the landing terminal on Dune. Oh, excellent. Or at the banquet. It's in there. Yeah. There's stuff in this chapter from that. I was wondering. But that's what I was asking. When did he get time to do that? Thank you very much. Excellent. And we've got a few other bits. We're getting dialogue repurposed from previous books in this chapter. In terms of memories. Excellent. Thank you, chat. Hello, Niddles. Somebody's at the door. Excuse me, wait a second. Are you on in? Oh, goodness. Good. Now, you can go up there and behave if you want. Hey, come on. Up you go. Give us a wee second, folks. Now, you got up and you see out. Sorry, dog out. Our doggy's here. What is that? Do you want up on the chair? Yeah, well, I'll try and go on here and see if they'll not bug me too much. Though I doubt that's going to happen. Hello, pet. Now, let's see. But yeah, thank you very much for that. So this thing, when do you get time to quit? Shows you, I suppose, his priority. Let's let's get those coat of arms changed. Thank you very much. I'm really sincere. Here I am, Ian from book one. Said, I'm pretty sure at the staff meeting at the landing terminal on Dune or at the banquet. Thank you very much. I'll have a nosy. I'll see if I can find that and make a wee note there. Yeah. What was the ones in the film? Was it we answer any call? Was it something like that? Which right. Go on, up you get. Go on, sit down. That's a good. Do you want up too? No. Sorry, folks, give me a wee second. I'll just sort my ladies out. I think they might need out the back here. Come on, girl. I'll be right back. Come on. Right. Liz, you coming? No? Where are you going? Hello? Help? Go on, go see me. Go on. Come on, little. Oh, she's okay, I think. We just. Sorry, there's just being playful there. I think I'm just looking for a bit. I've got noodles under the table. All right, Nids. There you go. All right, pet. Yeah, where are you off to? Do you want up on the chair? There we go. She's good. Alrighty. Oh, there. Ciao. That's a good girl. Oh, there we go. Got noodles in the background. Sorry about that, folks. Are you good? Oh, she's shivering. It's a cold night here. Well, yeah, thank you very much. I did figure, actually, I was kind of hoping that they were. I just hadn't time. Something from the previous, because we got a bit of that. But I just thought, just out of whimsy, when did they get time to do that? Let's see. Now, where did we get to? I'll flip the page. So, youngster, Leto shook his head. Still, you provide me with the key to a rational ethic of government. I must be constant. Every action rooted in the traditions of the past. That is proper. But my past goes deeper than yours. What difference? So, I have no first person singular still. I am a multiple person with memories of traditions more ancient than you could imagine. That's my burden still. I'm past directed. I'm abrim with innate knowledge which resists newness and change. Yet Muad'Dib changed all this. And he gestured at the desert, his arms sweeping to encompass the shielded wall behind him. Now, Stilgar turned to peer at the shielded wall. A village had been built beneath the wall since Muad'Dib's time, houses to shelter a planetology crew, helping spread plant life into the desert. Stilgar stared at the man-made intrusion into the landscape. Change? Yes. There was an alignment to the village, a trueness which offended him. He stood silently ignoring the itching grit particles under his stillsuit. That village was an offense against the thing that this planet had been. Suddenly, Stilgar wanted a circular howling of wind to leap over the dunes and obliterate that place. Did I write that down correctly? Bear with me a second. Yeah, a circular howling of wind. Where did we get to there? Sorry, bear with me a second. Suddenly Stilgar wanted a circular howling of wind to leap over the dunes and obliterate that place. The sensation left him trembling. Sounds like it's made him angry. Have you noticed still that the new stillsuits are of sloppy manufacture? Our water loss is too high. I think it's just kind of interesting that follows on him being itchy with grit particles under his stillsuit. It's not sort of something we used to hear about, irritations of the tubes and stuff like that, but that didn't sound right, did it? And Stilgar, we're told, stopped himself on the point of asking, "Have I not said it?" Leto nodded. The pills shifted body temperature, reduced water loss, They were cheaper and easier than still suits, but they inflicted the user with other burdens, among them a tendency to slowed reaction time, occasional blurred vision. So it's not just that there's still suits of poor manufacture, sloppy manufacture. The Fremen are resorting to pill popping for crossing the desert. The reliance on medication, if you like, increasing, and the word is dependent on the pills. They're relying on them. Now it's interesting because up until that point, the Fremen really, up until the point of Paul Atreides arriving on Dune, is that they are dependent on their technology, particularly the still suits. So it's a thing. It's a drug that's going to replace a piece of technology, if you like. And there's problems with these pills that slowed reaction time, occasional blurred vision, minor side effects, if you like, but you don't get them from the suit. And I suppose in a matter of life and death, those things would be quite important, wouldn't they? Is that why we came out here, Stilgar asked, to discuss still suit manufacture? Why not? Leto asked. Since you will not face what I must talk about. And that's a little subtle poke at Stilgar there, which kind of, it works, doesn't it? So he's going to face it now. So here it is. Okay, this is the thing that we won't talk about. Here it comes. Why must I beware of your aunt? Sorry, why must I be... I'm having a real problem with the word beware tonight, aren't I? Why must I beware of your aunt? Anger edged his voice. Because she plays upon the old Fremen desire to resist change, yet would bring more terrible change than you could imagine. It's another paradoxical statement, isn't it? She plays upon the more change than you could, really terrible change, imagine. Bad stuff. You make much out of little. She's a proper Fremen. Then the proper Fremen holds to the ways of the past, and I have an ancient past. Still, were I to give free rein to this inclination, I would demand a closed society, completely dependent upon the secret ways of the past. I would control migration, explaining that this fosters new ideas, and new ideas are a threat to the entire structure of life. Each little planetary polis would go its own way, becoming what it would. Finally, the empire would shatter under the weight of its own differences. It's an interesting little set of statements, isn't it? So she plays upon the Fremen desires to resist change, but again, it's Leto playing top trumps. I've got more ancient past than anybody, and if I was to kick in like this, I'd close the society, make things secret to the point where I control migration, because it fosters new ideas. New ideas are a threat to the entire structure of life. It's a bit hyperbolic, isn't it? Each little planetary polis would go its own way, becoming what it would. Finally, the empire would shatter under the weight of its differences. And I kind of get a sense of, is this a possibility for the empire? Is this a thing that is to be feared, that within everything being connected by the guild and space travel, there's a form of space travel, if everything fell apart, what you would have is each planet being its own. The word here, polis, by the way, that's from our Greek. It's the city-state, isn't it? The state. Depending on where you're at. So it means city in Greek. Polis. Yes, we get police and all sorts of things from. That's what we tend to refer to all the little city-states in Greece as poli. Polis. Yes, here comes the polis. It's like the police, isn't it? Men of the state, really, isn't it? City. So the suggestion is that if we fell back into this kind of mode, closed society, I suppose, but like Japan once upon a time. They kind of got to the point where they thought their society was perfect and closed up, if you like, if I'm not mistaken. Interesting thing to close up your society, if you like. A few places of it tends not to be good. Um, Tends to create stagnation, and the things that are being talked about here are actually the things that your society needs to thrive and grow. You need new blood, you need new ideas. How could that possibly be a threat to the entire structure of life? It's the newness that threatens the old, if you like. Those things from the past, the traditions of the past that have been shored up. And if these individuals are a long, long chain of different people throughout history and all the traditions that sort of arose because of the necessities of where those people lived and what times they lived in, a bit like the Fremen necessities for Arrakis at this time, you know. If you lived your life by those ways, those old ways of the past, those traditions, um, that would not be a good thing, would it? It would crush, it would separate up all the planets within the Empire, and ultimately they would all just fragment and shatter. And that's the suggestion here. If we just stuck to the ways of the past. Um, I live in a country that's heavily influenced by the past of 300-400 years ago, and going back even maybe problems with our neighbours to the right for about 800 to 1,000. Um, hmm, it's, I suppose, help your society along, this kind of thing. But how much the past interferes with your modern society, how much it influences people to think a certain way, to have political ideas, to have violent ideas, etc., etc. It's a very interesting thing. The past is firmly located there, and I think there's seldom a political ideal or any kind of real ideal that comes from the ancient world that would fit well into the modern world. Things have to be adapted and shifted and changed, I think. But at the same time, that's the great thing about having all these different things to learn from different societies in the past, is that you can adapt and change. And oh, Stilgar tried to swallow in a dry throat. These were the words which Muad'Dib might have produced. They had his ring to them. The mere paradox, frightening. But if one allowed any change, he shook his head. The past may show the right way to behave if you live in the past still, but circumstances change. Stilgar could only agree that circumstances did change. How must one behave then? Pardon me. He looked beyond Leto, seeing the desert and not seeing it. Again, is this like a past present thing? Muad'Dib had walked there. The flat was a place of golden shadows as the sun climbed, purple shadows, gritty rivulets created in dust vapours. The dust fog, which usually hung over Havana Ridge, was visible in the far distance now, and the desert between presented his eyes with dunes diminishing, one curve into another. Through the smoky shimmer of heat, he saw the plants which crept out from the desert edge. Muad'Dib had caused life to sprout in that desolate place. Copper, gold, yellows, rust and russet, grey bushes. The motion there, I thought. And again, we've got this kind of almost closed eyes, opened eyes, past, present with the desert. The past may show the right way to behave, but things change. And of course, Stilgar's agreeing with him that things change, and he's looking about. And again, it's this place that's familiar to him. Presently, Stilgar said, I am only a leader of Fremen. You are the son of a duke. Now, this is going to sort of evoke another memory, if you like. And Leto's saying, not knowing what you said it, Leto said. Once long ago, sorry, Stilgar scowled. Once long ago, Muad'Dib had chided him thus. You remember it, don't you still? Leto asked. We were under Habanya Ridge, and the Sardaukar captain, remember him? Armsham? He killed his friend to save himself. And you warned several times that and you warned several times that day about preserving the lives of Sardaukar who'd seen our secret ways. Finally, you said they would surely reveal what they'd seen. They must be killed. And my father said, not knowing what you said it. And you were hurt. You told him you were only a simple leader of Fremen. Dukes must know more important things. That's the lead back to that. Not knowing what you said. I am only a leader of Fremen. You're the son of a Duke. You told him you were only a simple leader of a Fremen. Dukes must know more important things. And Stilgar stared down at Leto. We were under Habanya Ridge. We? And that's it. It's the pronoun, isn't it, that Leto has used prior to that. And he doesn't like it. We. What's he on about? That was me and your father, not me and you. This kind of thing, again, it's a little bit disconcerting, isn't it? This child, not even conceived on that day, knew what had taken place in exact detail, the kind of detail which could only be known to someone who'd been there. It was only another proof that these Atreides children could not be judged by ordinary standards. Carlos Cressada said, Leto's statement echoes the political atmosphere in the US today. I think it's interesting though, because America's come through a big election, hasn't it? And it's been pretty divisive. I think maybe the last 48 years within America, politics has gotten very divisive. You're much more on the left or the right, I think, these days. But I think because you are through it, if you know what I mean, it's over. It's hopefully a time for everybody to start getting back together again and working towards an American future and the American dream and all that, whatever that might be. But I certainly hope the atmosphere in America gets a bit better. I think I'm not sure if it does after elections or not. So this in Kind's vision also lacked vision. Perhaps a green transformation sounded like a paradise, but how to live on such a planet? The Fremen have not sorted this out. Too little time or lack of purpose. Yeah, I would to go from such an extreme, the desert planet, to the something that's green and lush and all of this stuff, and you'd have an entire planetary population. It would, how do we live on? What's this? New issues with plants and all sorts of things. Even do you eat your plants? This kind of thing. It sounds like how to live on such a planet. And I suppose the ultimate thing about it is the melange problem, isn't it? That it's part of the Fremen atmosphere, for want of a better word. They breathe it. Everything breathes it in. If it's gone, would all life that's been transplanted to Arrakis up until that point, would it die? The other thing I've often wondered about is animal adaptation to melange. How do the animals? Why does nobody study the various animals and plants and how they interact with melange? It just seems to be, like these hawks, for example, and this kind of thing. The mouse, kangaroo mouse. How does the little kangaroo mouse process melange if it's in everything? Something I started to wonder about a wee bit. But lack vision, and again, it's the scale, the time frame for Kynes' vision was the problem. But what we've got is an incredible quickening of the Fremen dream. It's only within a couple of decades we're at it here, and it's well on its way. And it seems to have been done quite easily and without many problems, I think. Well, that's the surface appearance, isn't it? And again, has that got something perhaps to do with our epigraph? Short-term expediency always fails in the long term. What we've got is the short-term planetary change. I also thought it was quite interesting, just in relation to the village that Stilgar finds offensive, that it's planetologists that live there. It's a planetology crew, not ecologists. And it's the term that Kynes wanted to come into use, isn't it? As a I prefer planetologist rather than ecologist, this kind of thing. So here we are, just running towards the end now. Now you will listen to me, Leto said. And it has its kind of, this is where we've been heading towards the evocation of the memory, the father's words, etc. It's to get Stilgar to react a certain way when something happens. And up until this point, I don't think he would have. He's still hanging on here a wee bit, but we'll get to it. So now you will listen to me, Leto said. If I die or disappear, there's two options there. If I die or disappear in the desert, you are to flee from Siege Tamar. I command it. You are to take Gani and he's cut off by Stilgar here. You're not yet my duke. You're a child. Again, that's the third rebuke almost of Leto as a child, isn't it? I'm an adult in a child's flesh, Leto said. He pointed down to a narrow crack in the rocks below them. If I die here, it will be in that place. So this is where it will be. You will see the blood and you will know them. Take my sister and I'm doubling your guard, Stilgar said. You're not coming out here again. We are leaving now and you cut off. So again, that's Stilgar. Is that Stilgar acting as an imperial person rather than a Fremen? I'm going to double your guard. This kind of thing, rather than, okay, I'll get Gani and get the hell out of here and head into the desert. Look for somewhere safe. So still, you cannot hold me. Turn your mind once more to that time at Habanya Ridge. Remember, the factory crawler was out there on the sand and a big maker was coming. There was no way to save the crawler from the worm. And my father was annoyed that he couldn't save that crawler. But Gurney could think only of the men he'd lost in the sand. Remember what he said? Your father would have been more concerned for the men he couldn't save. Still, I charge you to save people. They're more important than things. And Gani is the most precious of all because without me, she is the only hope for the Atreides. I thought that's interesting, actually. The bit that he's making remember is the bit where it's actually the bit where Gurney, pardon, Gurney goes, your father would have been more concerned about the men we've lost, aren't you? That kind of thing, And there's a couple of moments with Gurney and Paul like that. So it's possible that it's an admonishment as well to Stilgar, in that sense, or that's why he's chosen that particular quote. Stilgar, I charge you to save people. They're more important than things. And Gani is the most precious of all, because without me, she is the only hope for the Atreides. I will hear no more, Stilgar said. He turned and began climbing down the rocks towards the oasis across the sand. He heard Leto following. Presently, Leto passed him and, glancing back, said, Have you noticed still how beautiful the young women are this year? And that's the end of our chapter. And we're going to pick up with that run of that little how beautiful the women are. What's the point? What's the problem with that? Next time. There we go. The other, just the comment, I charge you to save people. They're more important than things. And I've always got the sense on Arrakis, life is cheap. It's cheap to the Fremen, it's cheap to anybody in the Imperium. Excuse me. And that generally people's lives aren't more important. So the suggestion, I think, here is that this is hopefully a bit of a sea change. save people. In other words, save Gani, and she's the only hope for the Atreides. So all of this is the points as to kind of almost show Stilgar the scene of the future crime, if you like, and the possibilities of what will happen, whether they be within life or death. If Leto's actually killed, then get Gani and run. If he disappears, then get Gani and run. And I suppose if you can combine the two of them, even if it appears that he's dead, get Gani and run, and watch out for Alia. So it's basically this whole chapter pretty much is to prep Stilgar away, make sure that he's on board. And I think it's the evocation of location and memory, and his the location here, at this point of the Attendant, that Stilgar's had adventures and done things with his father here. He points out that this is the place, this is where you'll find the body, this is where the blood will be, etc. This kind of thing. And within this chapter, we've got a number of different paradoxes. I think I've got paradoxical written in front of me. The old Fremen desire to resist change, yet would bring more terrible change than you could possibly imagine. You could imagine hyperbole. Oh goodness, sorry, I can't turn that page with that hand. That's not good. Yeah, paradox, and particularly with the blind. I think there's a few within this, and a few statements of untruth, if you like, and a very particular use of the word meat, which also had me a little bit baffled. So there you go. It's a by the way, it's a meaning that I did not know. Because I was thinking like mooch and stuff like that. But meat, whether you'll assume the emperor's, where is it? You'll assume the emperor's mantle if it's meat. And it's a good use of it. I'm hoping that is what it is. It's an archaic use of a word. It's suitable or proper is what it means. If it's meat, if it's good and proper. There you go. But that's us for this week, there, folks. So if anybody's got any questions or comments, it's quite a quick little chapter because it's mainly there's a lot of dialogue in the back. There's not too much brought into it in this one compared to maybe the last one, but we've been learning a wee bit about much more about the changes of the planet, etc. We've learned of a plot to murder Farad'n from the Atreides side. The three possible paths of Leto's dreams. And that getting ready for the events, I suppose, of the conclusion of the Carino trap, if you like, the use of the Laza tigers and all that. Let's see. But there we are at the minute, folks, just to show you. That's where we're at in terms of our notes for notebook number 1. I've only got about 4 or 5 pages left here. And I'll have time to crack open another notebook. Hey. Oops, and that's come out of that. That's not good. Let me just catch up with your comments, folks. But there we go. We're doing rightly, aren't we? And the Tuesday is definitely a better fit for us. China said, I think it was so far in the future that they didn't work out the details. Hundreds of years to plan that, but today was focused on survival. So this is going to have to go. Thanks, Doc. Take care, all. All the best, Cynthia. Thank you very much for joining us. It's good to see you again. Thank you. Look after yourself. China saying good night, Cynthia. Have a great week. Christopher saying thank you, Doc. You're welcome, folks, by the way. China saying it's quite amazing that twins know to play everyone like fine-tuned instruments, while the adults are clinging to old rules and political games in a changing verse. Maybe Frank is hinting. The young shouldn't be ignored when reckoning the future. It's a very good point, isn't it? And I often think sometimes it's particularly when we put politicians of a certain age into power. Generationally, it's how far separate they are from, say, the generation that's kind of your 18 to 30s, if you like, or just your teenagers, this kind of thing. And we should never, shouldn't ignore the young. Not at all. They're the future, aren't they? And reckoning the future, they are the future. But here's hoping that they're sensible as well. I think But I'd see okay, a lot. Something you read about things on. I see things on YouTube and all this, all these different things that people are fighting and protesting and all the nonsense that's on, all the madness, if you like, and the crazy. What would you call them? Memes and things of the moment. This kind of thing. The kids that kind of come in here are for children. They're just not. They're normal kids. They're perfectly well rounded and all of this. I don't know. Sometimes the things that we see on TV and stuff are a bit, or some, they're not. It's not everyday occurrence, is it? What was it? J. Michael Straczynski said, in, was it Babylon 5? Was it television as a cultural wasteland filled with inappropriate metaphors and an unrealistic portrayal of life? If I've quoted him correctly, I hope I have. That's the gist of it. Never a truer word was said. But yes, indeed, yeah. Again, they've got all of these ancestors, all of these memories, all of this knowledge with innate knowledge, as we're told, to work with. They would have to be extremely clever. But I very much get the sense that being little kids would work for them as much as it can work against them, like here. But it's kind of, you've almost kind of got the doubting of Leto here by Stilgar. He does it 3 times. That basically tells him he's a kid. And the one thing I enjoyed, some of the writing in this. There's not too much stuff to look up or etymological work or anything like that in this chapter at all. It was a bit of a break, actually, just getting some things down. I did enjoy it, but it's I don't know. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought there a wee second. I suppose the difference in tradition and stuff, but the kids being able to manipulate everybody, as you say. The one thing I've never quite understood myself, just in relation to this, is that in relation to the twins, is that when we start the book, in fact, actually, I do get it. It's explained to us that there's the slight differences in other memory with male and female, but it was just that whenever we started the book, I got the sense that I really got the sense that Ganima was the much stronger of the 2 characters out of her and Leto, and it is interesting to see how that changed and shifted. Or maybe it's just a strength of a different type, if you like, But yeah, and you see that's the other thing, Chai, is that if someone got round to filming this, as much as we've seen Children of Dune with James McAvoy, for example, as Leto, but playing it probably about a 16-year-old or something like that. This would be so much more entertaining and thrilling, I think, if generally Leto and Ganima are 9. It's the same with Alia. Makes the story a very different thing. If you imagine them as older, I think, or however you would imagine them in your head, to me they're 2 kids. And I don't really have kind of an adult version of Leto in my head, if that makes sense. He's 9 years old in this, and then there's the other Leto that we'll meet in 3,500 years. But there is, that there is no adult, if you like, Leto or teenage Leto to me at all. He's just simply a 9-year-old kid, possibly 10 by the time we get out of this book. But there we go. The tension's building as well. I've scribbled that down a couple of times here, and we're heading, and we know again. It's like we kind of know what's coming, don't we? But as much as in terms of the Carino plan against the 2 children, we've got something else going on here. That there's using their plan to engage with their own plan, a plan within someone else's plan within a plan, if you like. And it's all starting to come together. We get that sense that this is coming soon as well, don't we? Tension builds, our sense of excitement, wonder. I'm actually, hopefully, as I said, I'm going to have a wee bit of time. Finally, folks, to catch up with correspondences, fire a few emails off, get some stuff done. Hopefully this week. I'm going to have a few days free. It's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it, but I might be able to read ahead a little bit. In Children of Dune, I don't know. I'm reading that many different things at the minute, and sometimes you prioritize one book for the other, shouldn't don't you? You know. China in Kabbalah, the parents pass more than DNA to children at conception, but also innate knowledge. That's why a toddler can play a video game like they're born to interact with the tech. I know very little about Kabbalah. That's kind of Jewish. What's the word? Kabbalah. There you go. I suppose we're going to be looking at a lot of this stuff soon. Jewish mystical. That's the word I was looking for. Mystic. Excuse me. Pardon me. That explores the nature of God. Very good. Mysticism, occult knowledge. We're going to be hitting a lot of that stuff. It's going to be interesting. I know very little about it. Pardon me. Chai said, thanks, Doc. Great job. Thank you, Chai. It was a bit of a rush to get on. We've just had a few things happening here. Just life, but things, we're going to get this sorted out. That's broke. This is broke. It's been one of those kind of weeks, But no, you're very welcome, Chai, as always. And hopefully I'll be in touch soon. So there we go. I'll wrap up myself, actually. Got a busy day tomorrow. Got to get up early. So we'll just say thank you very much, everybody, for joining us tonight. We'll be back again the same time next week, 10 p.m. GMT, here on Tuesdays, with Chapter 18 of our Children of Dune book club. And I said, things are picking up a wee bit in terms of time and stuff. So hopefully we might have a few other things coming for you soon as well. We'll see. In the meantime, enjoy, if anybody's not caught it, we've got our first Dune TV series, really, since the mini-series one. So we've got Dune Prophecy on. If anybody hasn't checked it out, we're up to episode 2 so far. If you don't rate or subscribe or anything like that, there's always the Pirate Bay. And a bit of interesting, some Star Trek work that came out this week. I thought was quite good, as well. But there we go, folks. There's Julian saying thanks, Doc. Thank you, Julian. Be in touch real soon. As I said, hopefully this is the week to get all that correspondence and stuff done. So I'll just leave that up to me. I'm going to start wheezing and coughing, folks, so I'll say good night. Look after yourselves no matter where you are. Take it easy. Be safe. And we'll see you all real soon. Thanks very much. Take care. All the best. Bye-bye.